Felting around a resist is done much the same way as wet felting, wherein you layer the wool on crisscross to achieve the thickness you want. Now, get yourself twice as much of the net as you would normally use just to cover the top of your project, because you're going to be going all the way around it. So make sure you've got twice as much of the netting or tulle that you use. In order to get the same amount of wool and thickness on both sides of the project, you could either weigh out 2 piles of wool, one for side 1 and one for side 2, if you have a scale that will register such a small weight in grams or grains. Or you could make 2 piles of wool visually the same. This will be side 1's pile and this will be side 2's pile. Now if I'm going along on side 1 and I don't feel that that's enough and I want to add more to it, well, I'll take a hank of it and I'll keep working with it, but I'll also take the same size hank and add it to side 2's pile. I'm going to make a beret out of this template, and it is a little bit larger than I need, obviously, so that there's room for shrinkage, and I'm going to make it out of the corrugated cardboard because it's the most common. So the first thing you do is lay your template directly out onto the table and lay your wool as you would with wet felting in a crisscross fashion. And remember, a lot of thin layers are better than a couple of thick layers. You want to lay out the wool past the resist by an inch or 2, all around. Okay, my design is all put on. Now, lay down the net at one end of the net directly onto the top. Lay the bubble wrap on the tulle with the bubbles facing the project. Then you get a stiff piece of cardboard or something to help you manage flipping it. And you take it with both hands like this and flip her over. Now we have side 2. This is where it gets interesting. The first thing you do is, with your hands, smoothly and gently bring the wool and curl it around to the other side. There. Take a look and see if you see any of the cardboard or template of the resist showing. You want to add just a little bit on the part that's showing. Now, after it's all pushed down and you've inspected the edge as well, you go about laying the side 2 wool the same way as side 1, crisscross and achieving the thickness you want. And you're going to go right up to the edge this time. And double check yourself for thin spots the whole time. It's very important to not get anything even close to a thin spot on the edges, because that's sort of a stress point and you will end up with holes if you're not careful. Okay, we're ready to go. Now the whole top is laid out. The middle is blank because that's where I'm going to cut the head hole. Now I lay over the tool and we're going to really tuck it in so that it's secure as it can be. Like with wet felting, you get your hot soapy water and wet it down. Squish it down. Use straight up and down hand motions when you do this. And when one side is wet, take and flip it over and wet the other side. Now that both sides are wet, you can start to gently massage it and rub it in circles as you would. And you might notice that it's a little bit bagged out, it's a little bit baggy. So if you look very closely, I want you to see that I'm pushing in on the felt, on the wool, so that it comes up to the edges. And you might be concerned about all of these wrinkles here, but don't be. That's what shrinkage is for. And do a little rubbing. Now you don't want to rub in and rub it, make the wrinkles rubbed right in. You want to just kind of lightly rub around them until they go away. At the beginning, I want you to flip it. Oops. Right away and make sure that both sides have got the wool pushed right up to the edges of the cardboard or template. Now if you're using tag board, this is why I told you that it doesn't work as well, because you have to be able to feel that with your fingers right here. So push in and do a little rubbing and push and rub and flip. And before you know it, that sagginess and bagginess will go away. And this is a good example of why to use on an abstract pattern, because it's going to get pushed around a little bit. It's going to be hard to keep it flat the whole time, so if it gets a little wobbly, then it won't matter with an abstract design. The cardboard, if you're using cardboard, will soak up some of the water, so you will use slightly more than you would have with just the wool. And now, in just this short amount of time, all of the bagginess has disappeared. And you've just got your smooth wool over the template. And it's time to work it as though it was a wet piece of wet felting, and simply rub and massage and get a little more pressure as the project goes on. Keep repositioning your tool and keep going until the pinch test comes out positive. Flip often to make sure you get an even amount of shrinkage.